I listened to a great podcast over at The Ringer. Sean Fennessy and Chris Ryan did a really creative breakdown of the summer movies. I really like their format, so we're stealing it.
Totally.
And so we created 8 categories. Some of them are some that they use, some of them are ones that we just came up with. And we're going to talk about some summer movies.
So, welcome to the Summer's End movie tag. We're going to tag some fellow friends here after we're done with this, but let's get through the list. So, first off, we have the best surprise of the summer.
Biggest surprise.
Is it the biggest surprise?
Yeah.
The girthiest surprise of the year for me was Upgrade. Because when I saw the trailer, I thought, okay, this is just going to be a regular kind of mindless sci-fi movie. And I think what elevates Upgrade is, one, Logan Marshall Green. This is a damn good actor. No
Tom Hardy's discount Logan Marshall Green. It's like it's an inverse.
It's kind of borrowed from some of these RoboCop sort of dirty 80s grindhouse movies, but it also inherited some of the intelligence of something like a James Cameron Terminator or whatnot.
My biggest surprise of the summer is a movie called American Animals. I love the way it approaches the true crime aspect of this movie in that it incorporates interviews with the real guys that pulled off this heist. The motivation that these guys have for pulling off the heist is not motivated by anything like, oh, we need money, or, you know, we're going to stick it to the man. It's just like these guys who feel like there's been something missing in their life. Evan Peters and Barry Keoghan worked great together. I thought they had great chemistry. There's another dude in this movie whose name I don't remember. It's like the fourth dude. It's not those two. It's not Blake Jenner. I really liked his performance. I've never seen him in like anything else. So if you're looking for something that's like kind of this exciting, edge of your seat action, not really action movie, but sort of thriller, I think American Animals is a great film.
Next category we have is the biggest missed opportunity
or disappointment
in Deadpool 2. A lot of people complain about Miranda Baccarin dying, and even Ryan Reynolds addressed the whole fridging of that character. It wouldn't have been great, but had Miranda Baccarin turned into Lady Death, that would have been something that would have really complemented the Deadpool lore. It would have given that character another side, and that gives Miranda Baccarin something to do. That gives her more of a meatier character to chew on, and especially now that Fox and Disney are kind of fusing together, introducing Deadpool with Thanos and Lady Death, you could have a storyline that gets closer to the comic, and I think that's something that Marvel is experimenting with, trying to bring its audience into the weird, because if you bring them into the weird, you can play off the crazy universe forever.
I'm picking Ocean's 8. It's not a terrible movie. It's not even really a bad movie. And if this movie was called, you know, The Jewel Heist, maybe I would have enjoyed it more. I just wanted scenes of these actresses like hanging out and bantering, and you didn't really get that. I felt like they underused Cate Blanchett, which is a crime against cinema.
Yeah.
I was willing to just sort of let this be its own thing, but there was also like a ton of pointless callbacks to the original movies, which are like, okay, you can either, if you're going to do these callbacks, adopt the style that made these movies work.
Right.
And if you're going to do your own thing, do your own thing. To me, that was probably the biggest missed opportunity, because that has the potential to be something really cool, and it just kind of fizzled out for me.
Right. Next category, we have Best Sequel, and I feel like universally, I know what everyone's gonna pick, but for me, I didn't see Mission Impossible Fallout, so I'm going with Ant-Man 2. Ant-Man's a movie that's on the bottom tier of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for me. I just thought it was kind of
The first one?
The first one, yes. But the second one, I was really surprised at how much, and I'm going to regard this to Peyton Reed being in control of the whole thing. I thought the visuals of this were great. I really liked the action scenes, especially, you know, the kitchen fight, anything with the car chase at the end, and the giant man. There's just so much that's jam-packed into this that doesn't feel like a total clusterfuck. There's something about Paul Rudd, and I can't put my finger on it, that I should hate this guy, but I don't. There's something about him that's just endearingly charming, even though his character basically boils down to a guy.
He's like an 80s movie. Like, if this movie came out 30 years ago, Chevy Chase would have starred in it.
I don't know, man. I think this one is just better Ant-Man. And that, to me, makes for a better sequel.
The thing is, the best sequel I saw this summer is also the best movie, so I'm going to cheat and pick something else. I'm going to pick something I thought was going to disappoint me, but I ended up really enjoying, and that's Incredibles 2. The first one is very much a sort of serious I think I described it as Watchmen for kids. It's contemplating the role of superheroes, whereas this is a little bit more like fun and like it's Mr. Mom and.
It's weird because so much of the Art Deco, it would be closer to Watchmen. It takes a lot more inspiration from something like The Dark Knight or the Batman animated series.
And this is more of just like the crazy super family sort of cartoon. The action was like I thought was like the train sequence in Honest Girl is like one of the best action sequences I've ever seen.
It's one of those sequences that's so damn good that when you get to the ending, there's pretty much nothing that can top it.
I really like that Brad Bird shoots animation with real cinematography. He shoots it like it's
like it's an actual movie.
Visually and technically, it was so proficient that I was able to forgive stuff like, okay, I can predict the villain 5 minutes in, and that's fine. That's very comic booky to me. That's almost self-aware. And it did a good job at progressing the themes of the first one while also leading it into being very much its own thing. For something to come out, after this much time and not be a big disappointment, I think that's an impressive feat. The biggest what the fuck moment.
Fuck yeah!
So what was the biggest what the fuck moment?
I'm gonna go the basic Marvel answer, the ending of Infinity War. Even though we know that the good guy is eventually supposed to win at the end, just to have that ending where you lose.
Good day, sir!
It's ballsy. I think nowadays in a kind of generation where you're trying to coddle your kids as much as possible, having the Russos just end it and say Thanos wins and kind of give you that gut punch, not by saying that the Avengers will return, but Thanos will return. I have never heard an audience gasp in disappointment and sob more. As far as what the fuck moments, I'm going for the cultural what the fuck moment of the year.
I'm doing something that was genuinely shocking. And it's in a movie that's filled with what the fuck moments, which is Sicario, Day of the Soldado. There's a lot of very odd choices made in this movie, but I'm going to go with the part where, spoilers, this teenager character shoots Benicio del Toro, he's got like tape and stuff wrapped around his face. He shoots him point blank in the face. Benicio falls. You think he's dead, which is this awesome moment. Like, holy shit, you just killed off your main character. But instead, he's tied up in the desert. They leave his body there. You cut to the next morning. He's cutting himself loose on a rock, rips off the stuff on his face, sews the wound, gets in a car, drives around throwing grenades at people, and then cut to 1 year later where this kid who shot him is working his shitty job at the subway. He just opens the door and it's Benicio del Toro there. He's like, so you want to be a Sicario? And it's like, wah, directed by Stefano Salima.
Wait.
What the hell does that even mean?
Okay, we're gonna go a little bit less insane and talk about the best scene. The scene in 8th grade in the back seat of the car.
I haven't seen 8th grade.
I'm not spoiling it here, but I'll let you know my quote from the review, which was, I have watched a Serbian film, and I've watched the entirety of the Human Centipede franchise, and yet this left me more disturbed.
I'm picking the scene from Won't You Be My Neighbor. There's an interview with, I can't remember the guy's name, but the actor from the show that plays Officer Clements, and he is...
Oh, the Francois, the gay guy?
Yes, he's just talking about how there's a time where Fred told them that I love you, and that was the first time he'd ever heard that from somebody. To me, that was like the most emotional.
I think he specifically said, like, that's the first time I've heard I've loved you from a man.
It was just this no bullshit moment that was like, this isn't motivated by, the interviewer or whatever. This isn't motivated by anything. It's just this one guy in a room talking about how somebody made his life better. And to me, that was just a wonderful, wonderful moment.
The next one we have is, you let me know.
Best performance.
Best performance. All right, bringing it back. Bringing it back, people. Elsie Fisher, 8th grade. Bo Burnham described her as the one shy girl that was trying to pretend to be confident, which was what the character was, whereas all his other auditions were like confident people pretending to be shy. Some of Bo Burnham's dialogue feels like dialogue he would use for his stand-up, and yet she made that feel completely natural. She was completely vulnerable on camera in a way that I never see in coming-of-age movies. There's no giant monologue that's gonna net her this nomination. What's gonna net her the nomination is how much you love Kayla, not necessarily Elsie Fisher. For a person whom the camera is following 90% of the time, she's trying to hide from the camera as much as physically possible. And I thought that nice little battle that she gave with it was just everything. For me, she's the front runner for Best Actress. I love Toni Collette for different reasons, but to me, Elsie Fisher was just 100% Kayla.
Speaking of which, my best performance is Toni Collette.
Segues!
I thought Toni Collette by far gave the best performance of the year. I don't think I've ever seen a better breakdown of guilt and grief and loss. Like anything, I've never seen anybody that vulnerable on screen, and as far as I can really remember. It's not just captivating in the sense that this person is a product of grief, but you need somebody who's going to sell that. And you already have some scenes that are now borderline classics, like the whole dinner scene when she just goes off on Alex Wolff.
Yeah. My favorite is the one when she's giving that long monologue at the grief counseling, and it's that first moment where you really get to catch a glimpse of what the fuck she's gone through, and you still feel like she's holding back.
There's not a performance this year that got under my skin that left me that disturbed leaving the movie. If you were talking about great performances in horror movies, this is an all-time great.
After that, we're going to talk about the best Oscar hopeful. This is going to be my point to talk about Won't You Be My Neighbor. I cried. I
Front runner to win Best
legit
Documentary.
lost my fucking mind at how just kind this documentary was. This is the South for all the bullshit that we take. And the only reason I haven't officially embraced it as best movie is that I don't know whether the reason I love it so much is because of the subject or because of the way that it's filmed. We've already got a couple of contenders that I think people are at least interested in if they haven't seen it yet. And Won't You Be My Neighbor is the one that people have seen.
Have you seen BlacKkKlansman yet?
No, I haven't seen that.
BlacKkKlansman is really, really great. It's one of Spike's best, I think. This works as just this crazy buddy cop movie. It also works as we're trying to get a grasp on the larger sort of cultural conversation. I feel like this would run the risk of being something like The Post, where it's just do you get it? There's not a lot of easy answers in this movie, which is, I like that, John David Washington's character is the cop, and he's sort of having this relationship with Laura Harrier, who is an activist, and so they have interesting conversations because they don't necessarily agree on everything. I really love Adam Driver's character. If we're talking about Oscar hopefuls in general, obviously this is Best Picture, but I think if you're talking about a Best Supporting Actor, I love that Adam Driver's character is Jewish, and he's having to go through this, and in the same way that John David Washington is, he's angered by sort of this bigotry and hatred, but he's able to ignore it, he's able to turn it off, he's able to shy away from it. So that was a really interesting choice in how his character and John David Washington's character interact. I don't know if John David Washington will be a Best Actor sort of thing, but I thought this guy he inherited Denzel's this guy is just so likable. In the first scene of the movie, you don't know anything about this guy. He's just given this interview with the other cops when he's trying to become part of the police force. And this guy's just awesome. There's something there in his performance that's not in the script, if that makes sense. That This is just a likable dude who's got that movie star sort of quality. Topher Grace is just a disgusting weasel piece of shit that you love to hate. You're laughing, but it's very clear who you're laughing at and why you're laughing. You get to be laughing at these people, but then also disgusted that oh shit, these people actually have power and influence. So the script is really, really smart in that sort of way. If we're talking about a movie that I think is going to be talked about a lot, I think it deserves a genuine Best Picture nomination and a Best Director and a Best Adapted Screenplay. I think that is definitely the one that I think this is something that is for something like an awards show like that. This is something that is deserving.
We are finishing out, as most of these conversations finish out, with Best Movie. 8th Grade just floored me. I loved how Bo Burnham, being a 30-year-old white guy, managed to tap into this sort of honesty of Generation Z. Brittany kind of used this as a reason why she didn't like the movie, and I kind of use it as just an example of coming-of-age movies in general, where it's not really plot-heavy, it's more vignette-heavy, and I'm okay with that.
I feel like that's what most good coming-of-age movies are.
Because to me it's all about the character, not necessarily what happens to them. I thought the cinematography was just so ambitious. There's a sequence at the pool, which I think should win, best sound, mixing, editing, everything, which is played partially kind of like a Kubrickian nightmare, to where it's just these uncomfortable close-ups of kids just doing disgusting kid shit, and there's Elsie just completely out in the open, it's this just pure white scenery and her in green, and it's not even the most flattering shade of green, and she's just stuck in this uncomfortable nonsense. And the camera work, like, you could see a dude just follow her into the water, and there's a bunch of camera bumps everywhere. But for a movie about 8th grade, it works because it feels like it's constantly teetering on chaos. This is my favorite point Brittany made in the review. Seriously, if you haven't watched the 8th grade review, Brittany is an MVP in this. She mentioned that when we were growing up with the internet, it was all about chat rooms, it was all about usernames, and so you were kind of hidden behind an avatar picture and just like a username.
Like Todd from BoJack Horseman.
Pretty much. But in this movie, it realizes that these kids grow up, life is online. It's not that you have a life here and you have a life online. The two are officially intertwined. The two are officially, you are you online. Your face, your friends, your family, you live this life. Everybody goes through the same experiences, but the pop culture, the times, the technology informs that growth. Coming of age movies are kind of they're kind of like the peanut butter by which you can deliver medicine. You can show representation in different forms. You can just experience new things, but still be tied into a likable, relatable character. And for me, 8th grade was just one of the best examples of that.
So the best movie of the summer, by far, Mission Impossible Fallout, is like if Tom Cruise died and Jesus brought him back so he can make a Mission Impossible movie where he was literally indestructible. Mission Impossible is sort of like a whatever continuity, but in terms of an emotional through line, I think that all of these movies have been going back to the first one and that guilt that Ethan feels about letting his entire team die, and so the fact that he's willing to go out of his way to do anything for his team, on top of the fact that, I want to have my team and I also want to be able to save world, and I don't know if I'm always going to have both, but I'm going to try, goddammit. I'm gonna run through this nightclub with Henry Cavill. I'm gonna jump in this zero gravity thing. I'm gonna jump off a plane without a parachute. It's like, Tom, what are you doing? He's suicidal.
They give him money, Tom. Kill yourself, Tom.
Tom Cruise kills himself 6. At the end of this movie, I was getting to that point where, how I'm kind of laughing because it's and it's not like I'm laughing at the movie. It's not like the Meg where I'm laughing at how ridiculous it is. It's I'm just laughing I can't believe he's doing this. I can't believe that.
It's one of those.
And the fact that I
know what you mean. It's that laughter of you enjoying a movie and you can't believe something like this is in a theater and you're looking at it with your eyes.
And I think the fact that I buy it, I'm so happy that this exists. And I'm so happy that somebody...
Mission Impossible Fallout, the movie that makes grown men sob.
Yes, because, there's something emotional about watching, Henry Cavill and his mustache as he flies a helicopter into a cliff. And the fact that... There's nothing else that gave me as much pure joy as this movie. So please, if you've not seen this movie, it is just a perfect action movie.
Summer has officially come to an end. We're done. Hopefully we gave you some recommendations. If you haven't gone out and seen some of these films yet, please go out, support your local cinema. And right now, I'm going to tag a couple of people that I would like to hear about. Athena and Sarah from Cinemates. Please let me know what y'all liked in the summer and what y'all appreciated. Jack Benner's movie reviews. I would pretty much like to hear this guy. Douglas Beamer, the buddy, the friend, the pal. Please let me know. And I'm going to cap this off with... I was doing the Rotten or Fresh bracket, and I came across this kid's channel, and I really like his shit. So, I'm going to go with... Ooh, have we run out of battery? Joseph Lansdell. Joseph Lansdell, if you hear this, friend, go ahead and... I'd like to hear your opinion about the summer as well. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that bullshit. Let me know what you liked in the summer. Follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll see y'all in the next one.